bee in our bonnets about independent living being some holy grail, and we talk about independence. Independence is something that we have to achieve, we have to aspire to at all costs, and that doesn't take into account the fact that people don't live in a vacuum. They don't lead isolated lives. They lead interdependent lives. But, we do that when we are born. We are dependent, and that is, no one sees that as a negative thing. But actually, someone at the end of their lives is as dependent as a baby, and that's fine. I don't think we should see that as tragic. I don't think we should see it as difficult. I don't think we should strive to separate people out from their dependencies so that they're seen as self-supporting islands. This is just so far removed from the way that people live. So I want to celebrate interdependence, and I think that how we build services and support is based on interdependence and connectedness, and that runs right the way through connectedness in terms of relationships, in terms of emotional support, peer support, community support, service support, and then technologies, the way that we're using technologies currently. And I think that's really exciting.
As human beings, we live in communities. There are very few of us who live isolated. And I know for me, I rely on people to play canasta with me on those cold winter nights. I rely on people, if I'm sick in bed, to help make the soup. You know, that for all of us, we have particular needs that are met by the other people around us. And the importance is about owning those needs and about talking about where we are and are not able to manage for ourselves. And it's not about saying a person with a disability is less than, but it's about acknowledging where there is a limitation, and every one of us has a limitation somewhere in some part of us. It's about overcoming that. It's about facing the truth and about making sure that we support each other to have the very best lives possible.
The reality is, in contrast with Western society's emphasis on the individual and the independence of the individual, that in fact, if you take a cold hard look at it across all people, whether they're in good health or whether in disability or illness, we all have dependencies. We all need care and support. If you take the most dynamic and successful businessman, you can gather and bet money he's not ironing his own shirts, he's not doing his own gardening, he's not painting his own house. And you could apply that right across society. He doesn't see it as being dependent on anybody to have a whole plethora of people doing this simply because he has the money to pay them. But if they turned around and said, well, we don't want your money and we're not doing it for you, he couldn't go into work that morning, you know. So I would think that it has to be seen as a very basic part of our society and a basic right. And I think we need to put energies into, if you like, creating the awareness and the acceptance and marshalling the arguments as to why it should be seen as an intrinsic part of our society, as it were, and our rights, as opposed to looking for some exception for this group.
Some of the issues around this discourse of independence is that we're moving now to a joint recognition of the notion of interdependence, and I think that is a very profound step forward, and I think it's a very promising step forward to be able to marry the disability movement together with the carer movement, and I think it's very powerful, and that is very strong in Sweden at the moment.
We can accept dependency. We should see dependency as part of the human cycle and not as something wholly negative. Otherwise, we're denying something quite fundamental about people who stay together through really critical periods of illness. We're denying something absolutely fundamental about the end of life. We seem to be quite frightened of it. It's not negative, it's who we are. It's the human condition. And I think accepting the human condition and building our rights around the human condition, why wouldn't we do that? And I think then it places caring centre stage.